pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the ample rain that you're providing for us. We thank you for all of our many blessings. We ask that you guide and lead us in today's decision making that's fair and just for all involved. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying the rain. That's what they call it. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. Has everybody read them and see any changes that need to be made or corrections?
I move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. The minutes are accepted as presented. First order of business, John Griswold, correct? Unit 31, Lot 14, Block D. Covered storage extending from existing structure. Okay, I'm gathering that you have an existing shed and then you have a wall that's, what, 10 foot out from it, and you want to put a roof over it? Is that what we're looking at? Foot setbacks. Doing material list. You're covering this whole top with this clear,
Yes.
is it like a corrugated type?
Well, it's segregated, it's not corrugated, you know.
Or it's kind of like a V-crib type, kind of flat bridge?
Yeah, I think about it every 10 inches or something like that.
Any questions on this, ladies and gentlemen?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion to approve, the second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Permits granted. You'll be able to pick up your permit about, what, afternoon, Camille? Can they pick up their permit about noon or thereafter?
Certainly. Yes.
Okay. Next application, Jeff
Jancy.
Jensen. Okay. Unit 12, block 24 and 25. Okay.
We approved this
Yeah.
last year in May.
You just didn't get
Yeah,
around
and
to it.
it ran out.
Too much heat,
Yeah.
too much heat, and volunteers wouldn't show up.
Right.
And he was in this morning, he is reapplied, but he added some, he left off some of the lumber,
He had put in 2x4s, so I'm gonna just.
so he added the 2x4s he'd be using between his posts to put his fence on. He did add that this morning. It won't be on y'all's copy, but it is on the original.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve, second, any further discussion?
He did ask if that was gonna be another $20 fine, or fee.
About $20,
excuse me.
yes ma'am.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, 'cause the other ran out. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. The motion is approved, or the permit. Next permit is Maria and Jack Howard. Nobody here? Okay.
No, but I know what they're doing.
Okay.
It's between the garage and the house, right?
Between the garage and the house.
They got rocky or pellet.
It's, yeah, it's gravel in there right
That's
now.
the word I think
where the other people had it, and they'd back their motor home in that back driveway and park, and then they would walk in. Jack and Marie have added over the period of time that they've had it, they've added a back porch onto it and a screened area, and now they want to
Yeah.
put that paved area in there and put the rock in there in order to park on this side and be able to walk across in there.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. You meet your setbacks, it looks like. A motion to approve, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion approved, second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, permit is granted.
They've gone back to Dickinson, they won't be back for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So they're basically gonna do what that.
Yeah,
what
that's
that
just
path
the
already is.
drawing over the top,
Yeah,
that's,
but there is a path with rock on it.
yeah,
so-
there's already gravel and rock there.
I don't think so. When was it?
Their original intent when they got here 2 weeks ago was to put the place on the market,
I'll just let him.
and they
Is this
Such-
changed their mind.
It was such nice weather that they just decided to stay.
I think he just needs to, maybe he has some questions.
What's his name?
Whatever the next.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
you have some questions for us, or what?
I really don't know how this works. If not, I would have got all the proper material, all the measurements and all that stuff. I just needed to go forth and get approved first, so that way I can go and get all the material and all the measurements I need. I was just afraid I wasn't gonna get approved for it and buy all the material for nothing.
Well, actually, we need a list of the building materials and stuff that you plan on using, and you can estimate it for us, but
Well, it was just gonna be your basic chain link fence, basic poles. It wasn't gonna be nothing fancy, just a chain link fence.
okay, this is, yeah, is this a request already?
It didn't make
Well,
it onto the,
It's not on this week's agenda.
but I saw that he arrived, so I thought maybe, you know, we could just talk to him. And actually, what I need to do was, why don't we just meet, do you have to go, are you going straight back to work, or?
No.
Okay, actually, can you come back at about 11 o'clock? And then you and I can go ahead and go and I can get you probably to the point where you can purchase material, and of course, anything can be returned, but if it's chain link fence, I'm sure, and then I can walk you through it. I did leave a message for you, but, I didn't get a call back, so. Saw you this morning, and I was thinking, well, maybe he has some pointed questions or something else, but let's do that.
And next week it'll come up, it'll be put on next week's agenda, on next Tuesday's.
Basically, we just need a description of what he wants to do and how he
Yeah.
wants to, and what material
Yeah, I
he's
just
gonna
wanted
use.
Do we have the
You don't have to
plan?
buy it
No.
now, but you can tell us what
It's
you're
just
gonna
an
use.
application.
Well, it's just like I was saying, it's just a basic chain link fence. What the ladies gave me in the front is pretty much what I'm gonna have to go by. I can't.
Did they give you a plot plan or
Yeah.
a picture?
So
Okay.
that's pretty much basically what I'm gonna do. So all I need is just the approval and just go by whatever that
Well,
paper says.
4 feet high, 6 feet high, 12 feet high, you know.
Uh,
that- You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I was,
Just
Are
basically
you,
a
are you
description.
fencing your whole property, or just part of it, or what is your intent?
well, on that plan, it says I can only go from the curb 10 feet, and then from there I can make my fence.
Right,
But then I have to go 3 feet in and 3 feet in.
Right.
not on
Your
fence,
setbacks.
Yes.
not on fence.
It's not on fence.
Can be-
What
it can
unit
be-
is it in?
Fence can be on the
It's,
property.
I'm on,
15?
15, it can
Okay.
be on your property
Property
line.
line in
oh, at the
15.
property line?
Yeah,
Okay, well
Yeah.
then.
Can't come
that's-
ahead of the front building line.
no, yeah, the front of the house, or you cannot go past that. The back can be on, out to your property line and across the
around.
back.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And you can kind of measure that off, get an estimate, and then list the materials that you think you'll need, and draw your plat plans and everything for us. The location of your house on the property, and any sheds or any of those things. Driveway. We need a picture kind of what it all looks like. laid out.
When you get with Camille, she can probably pull a folder on that one, and it may have a survey in it showing what was done, and you can get a copy of that and then work from that to where you want to put the fence.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like what he has.
Okay,
Just wait.
CCNR Fallout, Janelle, do you have anything for us?
The only thing I had was, there was a question about, the permit approved for Bill Hahn last week on the fence. I was up there yesterday morning, we took the measuring wheel, I'm sure there's a proper name for it, the measuring wheel anyway. And, on the, I guess back to the south, back more to the southerly part between he and where Loftus lives now, where it appears that the property line, should be, where the wall is or whatever. We came in from that a fair distance because the previous owner had always alleged that that property encroached on his. Whether it did or not, I don't know. Came inside that, measured out, and he's well within, I believe it's 100 and, across there, I believe it's like 111 point something feet. And his fence is well within that, over on the side next to the road. Then when you go to the rear of the property, it's like several feet that he's within the where that existing little low rock wall was, that he's within the.
Is there an actual copy of the survey in the folder?
There's,
Not in his file that I found when we were looking.
we have the measurements in the plat book. And we have the
If they're
measurements.
not done with the scale, if they're done with a ruler and then a wheel
No,
is
sir,
used?
the plat book, the plats that are filed for record at the courthouse they're to scale. I mean, an engineer, surveyor did.
Yeah,
those.
there's notes on there for that block and for that
Yes.
lot number, correct?
Yes,
But I was told yesterday by the people that did part of that a ruler was used to measure distances. And then a wheel is not a steel tape
No.
to
you
get
don't
an
ever-
accurate
You don't
measure.
ever survey with a wheel.
but I think it's, with the distance, I think it's enough to.
Randy, I
think
talked to
it's within the
Randy, he
property.
went up there and
Yes,
did his thing on it, and as far as Bud's concerned, he is well within his boundaries of where he's at.
How far off of where the existing fence was is the new fence?
I think it's as close as he could,
It's
close
a
enough
good
to it.
foot.
is it that far, a foot?
It's out in the street.
Well, that was the question I had, is where's the street?
But that's what is out in the street, the property on the opposite side of it.
Without a
across is-
survey,
is the
without a
same thing.
survey, the survey would indicate where the curb is at, and it'll also indicate where the.
You talking about the front curb?
It'll indicate where that concrete curb is that's going down the side
There's
through there,
there's not a.
or it'll indicate
there's a
where
little-
that stone wall is at.
There's not a curb going down the
Well,
side.
there's a stone wall there, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay, it'll indicate
On
where
both
that
sides.
stone wall is,
Mhm.
and it'll indicate where the corner stake is.
So does,
And these were done after.
so does the plat, George, and the plat has meets and bounds on it.
Right, and you don't measure things with a wheel,
Well, that's
because
beside,
it's
Well,
inaccurate.
That's close enough, I can guarantee you can go up there with your steel thing, and I'm not gonna argue with y'all. I
No,
did go up there, I feel that the man,
I don't think it's worth arguing,
no,
but the
sir,
fact is,
it's
it's
not.
gonna be difficult to explain to people
it
why
is,
they can't put their fences in the street.
it is on his property.
That's beside the point.
Well, then they need to.
Nobody has proved that it is on his property. Without a survey, you do not have proof.
unless you can find the pins if it exists.
You've got to actually find the pins, and surveyors don't put pins in the street. That was surveyed in order to be sold. That would have been a brand-new survey in 70 or 71 when Mendelson did this.
Mhm.
Those surveyors would have set a pin on one corner inside the curb in the grass, and then surveyed that lot from that point. They
That's-
would not have said, well, it's gotta be this wide, so let's put the stake out here in the street. If a building encroached that line, they would have drawn a line through the middle of that building and noted on the survey, existing encroachment.
Okay.
So the
That's-
title companies.
That's what is in the plat book. If, after the meeting.
That's
if you'll
not a
go-
survey, that's
Yes,
a
sir, it-
plat. No, ma'am, there's a difference between a survey and a plat. A
Sir.
plat only shows the square. The survey shows everything that's on the property.
Does not,
And it would show where that
Does not the-
stone wall is at.
does not the survey show the meets and bounds?
It shows the meets and bounds, but it also shows where that stone wall would be.
All
Was
right,
that wall there before?
That's
That
exactly,
wall's been there.
That was my, that was
That's
the question.
exactly
When the-
what's in the
If
book.
there's a survey, it's gonna show that stone wall, and it's gonna show where the pin, whether it's on the inside of that stone wall or outside of that stone wall.
But if you could find a pin, either on his property or the property across the street, which is the
Crosby's.
Crosby's, and let's say you could find a pin on the Crosby's, you could do it by what the survey says.
People have said that he has a survey.
He told me personally, when he bought the property, it was surveyed, he had it surveyed, so.
That should be on file somewhere.
That should be on file.
I would think so, but, and so he feels that he's within his bounds, and that's why he applied.
Because the road may not necessarily be in the right place.
That road was there. You're not understanding. The road was there. When
Oh,
the survey
okay.
was done, the road was there.
Okay, that's different.
Surveyors do not put stakes in roads.
I've
This
seen
this
it.
is a problem
I've
that
seen it.
this committee is continuing to allow to happen. And that's what I'm saying. You've got members that are gonna drive by and see that fence a foot out into the road, and they're gonna, why was he allowed to do that?
Because it's still on his property.
All I'm
Okay.
saying,
Can
My
you prove it to
objection-
anybody? If somebody comes to you and says, where is his property line, do you have a survey that actually proves that that's his property? When did he get road?
I don't know, or is the court wanna spend the money to get it surveyed and see if we're right or wrong? Or if he's right or wrong?
Well, I was
No, I mean.
gonna make a motion that the association have the survey done. And if it turns out to be that the survey shows that that stake is on his, that's inside that curve, he'd be required to pay for that survey and pay to move his fence back to that stake.
Okay. You gonna make that motion?
I'll put it in the form of a motion,
That the board do a survey on his property.
that the fort do a survey, and that if it's determined that it's, unless he's got the survey and willing to come up with it.
Yeah.
the question would be too, is if you're gonna do that, you know, depending on the cost, I don't know how much it would cost to survey one lot,
$400 to $600.
or if you did multi-lots, would be the price the same, that you might as well just do some.
Well, normally
separate.
surveyors don't work off just the first stake they find, they'll
Oh,
work
no.
down the line. and-
Well, I realize that, but what I'm saying is that if it's just as advantageous money-wise to survey that whole street, survey the whole street while you're at it.
Oh, you're talking
I'm
about
just
a lot
saying,
of-
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, you know, if it's, you know, but if they charge per,
No, we just need to verify that the fence is in the right spot. Nobody's asking for a survey. You're going to a plat.
Well, we got a motion
recorded
here.
plat
so-
that doesn't show the house, doesn't show the,
yes, sir, it does.
the stuff on it.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
I can take y'all in there right now and show
I
you.
know what the plat looks like, Janelle, and you're not listening.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
A
we have a motion.
survey is different than a plat.
I'll just say one thing. You individuals, as well as other committees and the board of directors, when you're making your decisions, you don't need to let personalities become involved.
This is
And
not a
that's a big problem we
personality.
have here.
It took us almost a year to get rocks moved out of the roadway. And now we've allowed a fence to go into a roadway.
my only question is, exactly, is it in the road or isn't it?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
Nobody has seen the survey. And a plat is not a survey. There is a difference between a recorded plat and a survey of a plat, of a property.
Okay, since we have no second on the motion,
Well, wait a minute, I guess we should second it before we discuss it, right?
yes.
Okay. I'll second it and then we'll continue this
All right.
discussion. Would the courthouse have a survey?
Not necessarily. they
Not
still
necessarily
got-
unless he recorded it.
Right.
If he got the survey, it would be up to him to record it, unless he made a loan, and then if that's the case, then the title company would have filed that with the title application.
Because, you know, this is gonna become, based on what, you know, what your statement about, you know, people driving by and seeing this is gonna become a hot potato, so we better get it straightened out
Yes, sir.
right now.
Sure is.
And if
Okay.
he's
Because
within his right,
And it's not personal, Janelle,
no,
but it's because it's Bill Hahn, the people are gonna ask, why was he allowed to put it there?
And that's
And then when
unfortunate.
somebody said,
All
well,
right.
that's his property.
I've had my
Okay.
differences with Bill too. We've
We
had
all have.
differences. But I'm just saying that you can't let personalities
Okay,
interfere with your
guys,
decision.
Okay.
back up, before we even get to that point. He did not put the fence where he said he was gonna
Yeah,
put
he's-
it. The permit was to replace an existing
Replace
fence.
an existing
When you
fence.
replace an existing fence, you replace it where the other fence was. That's why you're replacing existing, and it is not where the other fence was. So,
Right.
before we even get into this, he was in the wrong, he violated his permit by not putting his fence where he said he was gonna put his fence. So if you put your fence in a new location and it's new material, that's a new fence. That is not an existing permit. I mean, that's not an existing fence you're replacing.
Right.
So, I mean, if you back up to the beginning of this problem, it goes back to that point.
And he indicated on the recording that some of it was gonna be inside the fence and some of it would be outside the fence. It's all on the outside of the fence.
well, because I asked that question, they're gonna put it inside the fence. And I guess he said some of it,
Some of it would be inside the fence and some of it would be outside the fence.
But not that much, you're varying
But
too much. To
It's
where
all on
it
the
was a
outside.
point where Mud felt that there was an encroachment.
well, the question is
So-
gonna be too, that if he encroached, if somebody runs into that fence, who's liable? Mud? Doesn't Mud own the roads
Mud does not.
Mud owns the road.
for a couple of years more anyway? I guess. I'm, you know,
they own the road.
Yeah.
Can't take them back.
but the point being is that, you know, if somebody comes around the corner and hits that fence and gets hurt, you know, I would think that Mud is liable also. Aside from him, well, he wouldn't, he would be liable, I guess, because the fence is there, but, that, you know, that's another problem that could come up if somebody ever ran into that thing or something like that.
Okay, what is y'all's pleasure? I mean, we have a motion and a second. Do we want to continue with it, or do you want to go back to what Kate has said? What do y'all want to do?
Well, could that be tried? Or is he gonna just stick his nose up at people because he don't care? And I don't mean that disrespectfully or anything. And send him a letter telling him that he did not put the fence where it's not a replacement fence, it's a new fence, and therefore the permit will be rescinded and you have to move it? Try that first to see what he says?
That's a possibility, but
You know, I mean, I'm finding out what's right and
make
what's wrong.
him, yeah, you can do that and say that it's because it's a new fence, he needs to reapply for a new fence permit. And then when he applies, he's got to provide a survey to show that he's actually putting it on his property.
That would be the way to send him a letter. Tell him that the permit he requested that was approved was for a replacement fence. You did not replace the fence, you put a new fence in at a different location than the
Right.
existing fence. Therefore, you must reapply and provide us with a survey of the property.
That's right.
Would that work first?
That's one avenue to take.
Okay, y'all decide which way you want to go, folks.
Well, first of all, you have to decide
got-
that, but
we
you
got-
have a motion on the
Yeah, I
floor,
know,
it's been
we're-
seconded, it has to be voted on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
rescind mine.
You gonna
I'll rescind my motion.
rescind your motion?
I think to try the letter first.
You gonna rescind your second?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Make a motion, we send him a letter
stating,
stating that the original permit has been voided because he did not build a replacement fence, he built a new fence. And if he wants to leave it there, he has to reapply and provide us with a survey of his property.
Otherwise, it needs to be put where the existing fence
Right.
was.
Right. second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Motion carries.
Is there a time limit on that?
On what?
That there has to be a response?
Well, normally they have, what, 30 days to respond to a letter that goes to them?
We need to make that part of the motion,
Yeah,
Okay.
that he respond within
30 days.
30 days.
Well, you wanna make another motion to that effect then?
Can we just add that?
Make
Or
another
make-
motion,
Let's make another motion.
Make a motion that we put a
a time.
time limit on of the letter at 30 days.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
May I say it?
Is that within the normal scope of if somebody else put a fence outside of their original permit? I mean, would we say immediately, be informed that you have put up a fence outside the normal permit is voided and now you must reapply and provide a survey? Cause that sounds to me like circumstantial, and maybe that's fine. I'm just trying to think like the questions that I'm gonna get, cause I will do a phone call. And I'm thinking that a response is that sounds like a $300 to $400, $400 to $600 survey to prove that the fence should be, and that he should be left alone in whatever case. I mean, perhaps he already has the survey.
Well,
But he's
if an
got-
individual fills out an application and puts on there that they're replacing an existing fence, and you can visually see that the old fence is gone and the new one is gone up in the same location, there wouldn't be any problem. But it would be the same situation if they applied to replace an existing fence and then built another one 2 foot outside of it or a foot inside of it. Built a new one and left the old one where they didn't have to look at it.
At which point we would proceed by sending a letter letting them know that their application is null and void. They will need to resubmit that application with,
Yeah, their application, they didn't
the
do what
survey.
they applied for.
okay.
They put up a new fence.
My whole
Replacing a
question is
fence,
the question of the survey. That's all I'm saying. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that that is specifically what would be done in any case.
I would think it should be.
yeah, should be.
And it should be then somewhere in a legal, or are we setting a new precedence?
No, it's always been that way. You have to apply for,
Yeah. If you have to apply for a new fence or
if
apply
you're
for a
putting in, if you're
replacement.
gonna replace the existing fence, it's always been that you're gonna put it in the same spot the old fence was. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning that at all. I'm talking
I
about
think what
the-
she's saying is that, are we picking on
Are we
this
are we-
gentleman
are we
because
gonna
we're
require
asking
a
for?
survey of everybody who wants to put a fence
or
up?
who has violated their permit and who will now have to reapply to get the permit on there and then this time bring back a survey. I'm just,
Why don't we do that? Because if they don't, it kind of puts a little burden on them, plus kind of showing that, we kind of care and that, you gotta do it right. If you're gonna try and circumvent the rules, you're gonna pay. Which is gonna be a survey to make it right,
Yeah.
something like that.
so that'll be something that needs to put in like
Is that
legal
something?
format.
I would think
Right,
anytime-
adding
So if
addendum.
anybody's gonna be doing whatever they're gonna be doing, maybe I misunderstood, you want a survey to accompany their paperwork that's coming in?
No, if they do it, if they build if they put up what they don't say, therefore they're doing something illegal, show us by survey that this can legally be done on your property. Something like that. I don't know how you would word it, really.
This would be strictly, basically on fences, wouldn't it?
Generally, if you can find the pins, you don't have this problem.
Would that be an association challenge?
Well, Bob usually goes out and locates pins on properties
Yeah,
when
because
we're,
let's take Johnson's, for instance. That's my next door neighbor. He went out and found the pins, he's gonna build like a foot inside of them just to make sure that he's within his property line.
we did the same thing. We came 4 inches inside the property line just so that we weren't right on the property line.
How about in the letter, it can actually state that the survey stated, which he's gone off of, needs to be
Well, I don't
brought
think we
to
need
the
to even
committee.
mention the survey.
I just am
No.
being,
All we need to mention in the letter is that he violated his permit.
okay,
Now, granted, it may say that he said some would be in and some would be out, that's understandable, if you're replacing an existing fence, but you'd put it right next to, I mean, practically right on top of it, whether it's outside or inside, but you wouldn't put it, you wouldn't move it. And this one apparently has moved enough that it's of a concern that mud brought it up, and it obviously is not in line with the rest of the neighborhood. So, it's more than, than within a tolerance, so to speak. And so I think actually the letter just needs to address the issue, which is he's in violation of his permit because it is a new fence, it's not replacing the existing fence.
Just strike the.
The survey has nothing to do with it, but should he decide, he needs to apply for a new permit, should he decide that he wants to leave the fence where it is, and in which case he would not need to prove by bringing in a copy of the survey that he is within his own property lines.
Right. And that's no different than asking anybody else to provide the same thing.
Please provide any and all pertinent information to proof. Okay. Anyone have any questions regarding this letter and signatures? Okay.
So you have a motion on the floor on the time limit thing.
Yes, did we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. That was for the motion for the 30 days.
I take it that you're voting in favor of that too.
Well,
We need to have
The
five
chair-
people. If the chair has to vote, the chair votes,
yes, the chair votes for it.
because otherwise you won't have a quorum.
Right.
Violation within 30 days, you'd be subject to fines, fees, fines.
All fines always kick in
Yeah.
in a violation situation.
You don't have to remind them that, everybody knows that, or should. Okay, next item. Anything else, ma'am?
Just a point of information, we, had calls and complaints and so forth. Trash truck was broke down yesterday. Still haven't got it as of about 8:30, they still didn't have it fixed this morning. Of course, when that happens, they have to use the flatbed and pickups to pick up trash. Some folks' trash didn't get picked up yesterday. We're sorry about that, but sometimes things can't be helped.
Absolutely.
Lots of members don't understand that. It's like we've taken their social security check away if they don't get their trash picked up in X amount of time. But anyway, they are working today trying to get it picked up. We are not able to, yesterday we were able to dump at the landfill. We can't dump today because it's too wet to get in there.
Right.
Unfortunately, a number of years ago, the board we had at that time we had a really good deal on some used material from a contractor that had done the first sales at the landfill. And the board at that time did not want to go ahead and put the chip seal with hot oil over it so we would have an all-weather road. So this is what happens when we realize we don't have rain very often, but it puts us at a disadvantage as well as the
They
city.
didn't pick mine up
Right.
yesterday either, but it floated down to the neighbor.
Problem
I had to
solved.
slide out of mine.
Keep an eye on it, we don't want it to get
No,
creek,
it's
then
still
we'll
there,
have
it's
T-Sec
still
on
there in the
it.
driveway. I'm just trying to
But
lighten
anyway,
it.
if y'all hear any complaints, just ask the folks to please bear
Most
with us.
people don't realize that trash truck hauls about 24,000 pounds
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's loaded. And that flatbed yesterday is running about 4,000 pounds per load.
Overweight.
Wow, yeah,
That's all they can
Yeah.
stack on it, so
Yeah.
yeah.
it takes a lot of trips.
And the trash truck is compacting it.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but we're sorry that that just happened.
Well, that's not
Okay,
anybody shouldn't complain about that other than.
Are you kidding me?
Well, they do because it didn't, but once they find out why, I would think that's enough.
No, but you don't understand. It's our fault because we're
Because you
not
broke
keeping.
the truck down?
Well, we should make sure that it
Specifically
doesn't
to
break down. It should be kept in working order to where it doesn't ever break down.
Why do you go to a doctor? Because you break down, geez, give me a break.
okay. Next, anything else, ma'am?
No, sir, I think that's it for today.
Okay, on CC follow-up reports, Unit 32 receptacles, what do we what's the deal on this?
You know, I thought I'd list these so that we could just have a chance to review everything, the letters that I send out and that are mentioned in the previous minutes. And so just going down the list, Unit 32 receptacles, as requested, as stated, that there were a violation of, I believe it was 7, and CCRs 32. There were indeed several sitting out, not out of view. The abandoned vehicle is no longer there, so we didn't even have a chance to have the sheriff go out and tag it. And Unit 7 maintenance received, or Unit 7 received letters, or a letter regarding the maintenance and disrepair and lawn care. And D is our
Okay.
Texas law. I have that printed.
You wanna address us on
I
that?
gave it to her.
Oh,
Oh, there's a definition in there on pool enclosures and pools, and it lists spas, above-ground pools, in-ground pools, and indoor pools.
this was
Anything
addressing
over 18 inches deep is considered a pool.
on the Texas law, pools in your backyard
Health
or
and
front
Safety
yard or
Code,
whatever.
Chapter 757, pool yard enclosures.
And we told Ms. Green last week we'd get this law and so we'd have it on hand. And so all pools do have to be fenced.
Would they also have to follow the setback rule?
It's a structure.
Okay.
It's considered,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with it, it's just,
Even if it goes into the
Yeah.
ground, it's a structure. It's like a basement on a house.
I think there's a number of those around before, by the way.
I haven't seen the two.
There's one down the corner by me, corner of Wainwright and Anderson.
there's one in,
You might make a note of who
line
has these
15 is
pools
one.
Yeah, there's,
and send them a letter stating that, but Texas law, they've got to either fence them or,
Yeah,
Okay,
most people, if they had a backyard fence, would put it inside
Right.
the backyard fence,
Right.
which is what happened.
right.
Looking at this, on number 8, pool is defined as means a permanent swimming pool. Is there anything in here that refers to above-ground pools which can be moved and
It,
taken down off
it just
season?
lists above ground. That would be either permanent or non-permanent.
Where is that at?
That's under 8, what you're reading.
But it doesn't say. It does say located at ground level, below ground or indoors, but it also uses the
Above
word
ground,
pool,
below ground,
means
or indoor.
permanent swimming pool. So does that change it?
No,
I would think anything that big is permanent, you're not gonna empty it every day and
You're not gonna
fill
empty it every day and put it up.
Well, that's true, but I'm
You
just
know.
trying
Right,
to
I-
clarify the wording.
They put a specific sand bed underneath it to keep from damaging it. And,
in the same reply saying
Patches
it's a
is
spa, you know, spa is, I mean, it's sad when it's full of water, it's permanent, I guarantee you.
Because there's a lot of people
Matter of fact, my
that have
neighbor's
those
got one of those.
outdoor hot tubs.
Yes.
Yeah, my neighbor does also. So does that fall under the same thing?
According to this, it says spas or hot tubs.
over 18 inches deep,
Yeah.
whether it's
Hot
indoors
tubs or
or
spa over
outdoors.
18 inches deep,
Well, like a spa,
located at ground level.
with a spa, a lot of them, they have the, you know, you've got
Yeah,
to
they've
cover
got
it.
covers to go over it.
And I would
They-
think that that would be considered,
Where an
Fence?
above-ground pool, if they're 4 feet tall, and the ladder is automatic, where an adult has to unlatch and pull the ladder down, walk up onto a deck, and the ladder automatically comes back up, a lot of cities have added those into ordinance to accept them.
as a fence.
Well, it prohibits anybody from being able to get up on it, because
I
there's
can't.
no ladder, there's no way to get up, and only fence height is 4 feet,
Yeah, right, yeah.
with no opening more than 4 inches.
Now, we'll have this copy on hand, so,
Chain link fences are not allowed.
and we might probably, We would
You
do
can
this,
get little toes in the chain link fence or something.
for Miss Green's benefit, we might send her a letter or notice that, we have the copy and she will need to fence that pool off.
And the property
She received
behind,
it
Barbara Dillon,
But now the one behind Barbara Dillon, she said that was actually part of that was on her property.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right,
that's-
exactly.
So
That was
that needs to be.
two
yeah,
problems
okay,
there.
Two problems.
They've
okay.
both received letters, I just didn't have this to state exactly.
There's
It
another
may be in
one.
violation of state law,
Yeah.
so
well, now they need to be notified
Okay.
of the state law.
There's
that it's a
another one.
violation
why don't
I
I
think-
probably call?
of- Yeah.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, there's one more pool I know.
Oh, well, we need to, if you have some names, we give them.
No, I think, I'm trying to remember some guy from unit 32, was it?
We allowed one to go on bow legs and and because he didn't put the fence up, he took the pool back down.
No, but there's one up there right now, it's, if you can, it's behind 15.
Right,
Like
between 15 and bow legs.
Somewhere there, but it was up there yet the other day, I saw it, yesterday I was down
But
there.
he's got a permit to put a fence up.
Well, that's what I'm saying, 'cause that's the one I was trying to get
Yeah,
at.
he's got a permit to put a fence up.
If he
and
puts the fence up, then
Yeah,
he's
he's supposed to put the fence up.
But I mean, there was a pool there, that's why.
Yeah. I do wanna, somebody should follow up and make sure that property on, in Unit 3, Lot 14, where they, put that shed right there at the front of the, to make sure that they did, anchor the shed as, was in their permit. Somebody needs to, follow up on that and make sure
Yes,
that it was.
because that gentleman made a statement to me the other day that, he didn't think he had to anchor it, and I said, yeah, you do have to anchor it. He said, well, in that case, I'll probably just move it out, so let's follow up on that.
He was in and told me the same thing.
Yes. So if that's the case, it's,
Yeah. Being as the property's for sale, I don't know why he was so insistent on.
so he either needs to get it anchored or get it moved, whichever.
Did she go ahead and put up the gutter along there?
It was, if you do this, I'll do this,
Yeah,
so,
okay.
and she's more than willing to do that.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't have a problem with that, she was willing to work with them if it was a two-way street.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn? We're adjourned, folks.